Good afternoon. How are you? Well, we got a decent snowstorm. I don't know, 6, 7 inches. There are drifts. It's hard to tell. It's kind of wet. And if the temperature is as predicted tomorrow, 55, it'll all go away. Thank you, Thomas Jefferson. So 31 degrees today, 87% humidity, and the wind's at 3 miles an hour. Although I'm in an open field, and I don't feel any wind at all. So that's a pleasure. Let's talk about what's going on. One of the postulates, see that's my team. One of my postulates, or one of the nation's postulates, is that we have 3 departments and they act as a check and balance of each other. And when they were writing this Constitution, they were heavily influenced by Rousseau and others from the Enlightenment. And they believed in checks and balances, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. And, Voltaire, for example, paid for it with imprisonment for his not only saying some of these things, but doing it so well. Now, yesterday or today, Justice Sotomayor spoke about the importance of obeying court rulings. And she said this in the context of Trump violating a court order. And her fear is obviously that Trump may flaunt the court's ruling. Now, our founders opposed a monarch. And that's why, in her opinion, they gave the purse to Congress, which is an issue directly on point in the court cases involving Trump dispensing or refusing to allow to be spent what Congress has chosen, has passed, and has been approved in some cases by Trump in his earlier term, but certainly where we are today. Now, Trump, who is, if nothing else, a consummate liar, he has been saying, oh, of course, I'm going to obey a court ruling. I can always appeal it, but that would take time, but we'll deal with that. Well, you just know if this goes the wrong way, all of that will go out the window. And so we have to keep that in mind. And that's why I think Justice Sotomayor is staking out territory and saying this. Now, if you want to look at how our basic rights and liberties are challenged, and you probably can read these things as well as I can. But for example, the ICE raids. The government is complaining through the FCC and otherwise that, hey, what are you doing covering those raids? And this is ironic because in Chicago, they allowed Dr. Phil to go along on a raid. But you see, what it is it's not covering the raid, it's covering the editorial comment about the wisdom of the raid and how it's conducted and who it's conducted against and what little research is done on the people they're apprehending. Take another chapter, RFK Jr., the pestilence that can't give us enough. He wants to halt infections. He believes that what's wrong is that we should not have the research we have. And I guess he thinks it's better we put a halt to opposing him, when I think we should make it clear that we should put a halt to his nomination. But RFK Jr. wants to put a halt on infectionary disease resurgence by ignoring it, and that's just not sufficient. We also see that the Trump administration is scrubbing the data at CDC and DA, meaning the sexual references, they're scrubbing those out, compromising the advice that the public can get from CDC and DA, which are at least lifestyle changes, if not compromising your health up to and including death. The administration wants to cut research funds to NIH. We have 80 years of scientific dominance by the National Institute of Health. I've attended 4 myself. I've read their publications. Probably you have too. Information saves us from disastrous occurrences among individual citizens and the body politic. You may remember this administration was saying, don't worry about bird flu. Well, it's infected a Nevada farm worker. So they say it can't happen, but then it does. And then the regular flu season we're familiar with, we have 25 million cases, which is a large number for the flu season. All this is to say, there are circumstances out there that have been normally handled with the information the government can provide, but also the services that keep us safe and secure. And Trump and his minion, including Elon and Bannon, they don't care about these things. So this is our problem. Trump is a bull in a china shop in so many ways, including diplomacy, if that's a term that should ever be stated within the 7 words of Trump, if you will. He said to Jordan's King Abdullah yesterday that he should be prepared to accept those from Gaza in Jordan. Imagine this guy. And as I mentioned the other day, we have a member of Congress who's already put in a bill saying that we should do that. And I love the fact that these guys talk about embracing the Roman Catholics. Well, Roman Catholics, in my experience when I was more religious, were not always very clear. And there did seem to be some mobility among what we were supposed to do and not do. And I just grew away from the church. But when Jesus speaks, he speaks of charity, he speaks of loving your neighbor, turning your cheek. And so the Pope has rebuked Trump over his deportation policy. You know, what religion exactly does Trump subscribe to that lets him brutalize young and old and women without proof that the law has been violated, to send them to odious places of confinement and to take them off the streets, literally city streets, homes, gathering places, and send them to foreign lands or to jail cells or to cots? What kind of Christianity is that guy involved in? Hard to say. Now, I don't think it's fair to list what's going on without saying, how can we protest? How can the most timid among us, I don't say this critically, how can the most timid among us protest? And there are ways. There's a new website, and it's called 5 Calls, and it's literally 5calls.org. And if you go to that website, you'll find out that you can make, it will help you make 5 calls in 5 minutes to members of Congress and so forth on issues that you choose to talk about. Now, this is relatively new, but it's already amassed 5 million calls. So now some of us are not comfortable with the computers and stuff like that. Okay, that's understandable. But get somebody in your household who does know that. And you'll have such satisfaction knowing that you're joining a force in number that cannot be ignored by these know-nothing representatives of ours. Even turkeys get it. That this will catch the attention of people on the Hill because they do count, in the sense that they count votes. And, you know, let me add one more example of what's not right and which is incongruous. Tesla is opening a battery factory, and they're doing it in China. Another one is Trump has asked for permission to bribe foreign officials because we're put at a disadvantage in a competitive sense because they can bribe and we can't. It shouldn't surprise us that a felon, a formerly impeached individual, a failed casino operator, a guy who hardly ever tells the truth about anything, would say, why can't I bribe people? Why can't my administration do that? Well, think about 5calls.org. 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 That's the annoying thing they do when you sign up for anything on the internet these days. But go to the website, see if it's your cup of soup, and it allows you to do something about it. Now, I can't say what the weather's going to be like tomorrow, but I understand, and they got today right, that it's supposed to rain and be 55 degrees where I am. So what we see here in this field is going away, if they're right, and the weather people have been right. Can't say weathermen anymore. Shouldn't anyhow. And so that's where we stand. We are the resistance. We know what we have to do. We know what's right and wrong. We have to shore up each other in our resolve to stop he who would be a dictator from succeeding. So that's what I got today. With any luck, I'll talk to you tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye.